I gave every country in Europa Universalis IV a core on every province that is in their primary culture group. Free cities in the Holy Roman Empire may now lay claim to the entirety of Germany and the Low Countries. Ireland may finally be united at last, and the Re-Reconquista may actually have a chance? It's going to be a fun one, and I think that you're going to agree. And if you do, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We just hit 30,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone for a small channel like mine. I'm very grateful for everyone who has subscribed, and also hello to the 72% of you who haven't subscribed yet. Once we hit 50,000 subscribers here on Chewbert, we're going to be doing a massive mega campaign all the way from Imperator Rome through Hearts of Iron 4. It is going to be a ton of fun, and I would love to have you along for the ride. Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to be seeing quite a lot of stuff like this. Everybody around them is going to be declaring reconquest on the small nations day one. And this is definitely not the only one. There's quite a bit of war going on over in Germany as well, because there's a lot of small nations that are going to need to consolidate around a specific culture group. And reconquest is it's basically free real estate. And I definitely think Japan is going to be worth keeping an eye on, considering the fact that Ashikaga can annex anybody in one day, as long as they're loyal after 10 years. So definitely something we're going to need to keep our eyes on. That being said, there's also going to be quite a bit of war being declared in the meantime, and those guys are going to get pretty strong, which might be actually the downfall of Ashikaga, but definitely worth keeping an eye on. Saxony wasting literally no time annexing everybody they possibly can, and then giving away some land to their subject because reasons, I guess. But yes, Saxony's already annexed 2 tags, and we're like 3 years in. And obviously this doesn't have anything to do with the cores. This is just regular conquest from the Ottomans mission tree. Looking at the dev diary from last week, they're looking like they're going to be pretty weak early on, and I don't think the AI is going to be even closely possible to making it happen. Unless maybe we were to intervene, help them out a little bit. But right, yeah, definitely worth mentioning that the Ottomans have cores on all of Arabia, as does the Mamluks, and they're actually going through and getting a lot of that land right now. They've already taken over a ton of land in Arabia, and they're actually at war with the Timurids and Hassa currently. I think the Mamluks are going to be able to get a decent power base before the Ottomans come a knocking. So definitely something that we need to be keeping our eyes on. But how about that long Croatia? Quite a lot of coast, need to take a little bit from Venice to achieve true coastal dominance. But it looks like they're actually taking all of the interior of the Balkans this time around, with their overlord of Hungary also getting in on some of that Wallachia land before the Ottomans gobbled them up. We'll see how things go with that in the long term, but always love to see a strong nation that could possibly oppose the Ottomans. Though it's definitely funny to see nations like France attacking Brittany, taking some provinces for themselves and then giving some to their subjects who also have cores in the land, and like they can't decide who gets what. It's just whoever happens to occupy the province in that war. So I like that. I like that quite a bit. We're about 14 years in right now. The Burgundian inheritance has happened, and the Empire has demanded the Low Countries. It seems that they dishonored that, and somehow France got the Burgundian inheritance, or maybe pushed the PU or something. But either way, they annexed them, and now France is terrifying. France is almost as high in development as the Ming without the mandate and with the domination mission tree from 1.35. So France is definitely something we're going to have to keep our eyes on. Oh my gosh. What happened here? I don't know, but Granada is big. Leon and Galicia are here, and even Navarra got in a piece of that action. Castile has seen better days. Safe to say. Like to see this as well. Karabakh over here, who I believe is a 1 province minor, like right here in 1444, is now just all of this land, all of Caucasia. So that's pretty sweet. And meanwhile, the conquest of Granada continues, annexing Leon and now looking to annex Portugal over here. And this is all Andalusian culture group, so they could full annex them if they really wanted to. Also worth mentioning, we do have Long Memmingen all the way from Oberpfalz down to Memmingen proper. And Austria, meanwhile, is slowly but surely annexing some of their lands over in Bavaria. And it looks like Long Memmingen, not long for this world, actually is a 1 province minor in Ulm now. Meanwhile, up in the north of Germany, we have some interesting happenings here. Brandenburg has annexed all of Pomerania, and they annexed a lot of the land of Saxony, splitting some of it with Hamburg, of all people. And then meanwhile, we have Denmark just gone, split between Norway and Sweden, kind of willy-nilly, but it looks like Norway actually got a good chunk of the development, but Sweden is the winner, but we'll see how things go. And there's overall just a ton of consolidation going on incredibly fast. Teutonic Order, definitely somebody to keep our eyes on. Up here in the north, we've got Muscovy, Sweden, Norway. All of these guys I'm definitely going to be looking at. And meanwhile, Andalusia has formed over here in Iberia, which is so cool. I love to see these sorts of formables. And it's about to get very, very messy over here in China, even more messy than it normally does. And as I mentioned before, it may actually be a bad thing that all these nations can get big. It didn't work out for Ashikaga. They're a one province minor over here with two major daimyos that have broken free and are now like splitting Japan down the middle. But another one of the positives of us consolidating culture groups is that we have cool formables like Somalia popping out. I always love seeing nations that I'm not really used to seeing do well, like Guj over here. Very cool. They're all the way over into southern China and possibly a couple of provinces over here, though Ayutthaya seems to be eyeballing them, so we'll see if they survive, but I am always down to see stuff like this. Meanwhile, we have one province over here in Arabia going to the Ottomans, and meanwhile, the rest is going to the Mamluks. Not sure how this happened, but the Mamluks are winning, actually. And I had mentioned that before, that maybe them getting a bit of a power base before they go to war with the Otto would be a good thing for them. And it turns out it definitely was. Some interesting power blocks coming out of Western Europe, though. Andalusia, France, and England all do be looking a little scary. And you can't count out Austria with all of the buffs from being the Emperor of the HRE. They're definitely pretty strong as well. Definitely punch above their weight in terms of their size. And it does look like Muscovy is actually getting dogpiled on. They just lost the war to Norway, of all people. Sapmi has popped out in the north. Sweden has some land over here, and it looks like Lithuania as well as Kazan is closing in on them. We have Ostrakhan over here, a new nation on the scene, and Bukhara has formed over here as well. So lots of really interesting semi-rare tags in this run. I'm a big fan. And as long as we don't look over in this region of the map, everything is cool. Japan, united. Manchuria, kind of united. And then India, getting united. Bamanis looking incredibly good. Probably going to form Deccan before too long. So we definitely have hope that things might clean up over here at least. Meanwhile, poor Hungary getting gobbled up by the Ottomans immediately after annexing Croatia. They are not a subject of Austria. They are independent. And looks like they are now getting beat up on by Bohemia, so these guys just cannot catch a break. But how about the Pope band down here doing work, splitting Italy with Venice for the most part, a bunch of random Venetian provinces. Bologna took a province, doubling their land. But the Pope man has a ton of land in the south, Sardinia apparently, and then they have some land up here in Lombardy, and then whatever this is, like Savoy, Nice area. So they're looking pretty good. Also Saluzzo, randomly with two provinces over here, cutting Venice down the middle. So I don't know what happened there, but that happened. And meanwhile, Austria continues to just migrate north. They actually beat up on Brandenburg, and I think it's safe to say that Austria won the Germany race, at least. Mamluks continuing to do just fine. They've even managed to snag some land in northern France. I don't know why. They just have 3 random provinces up here in France. Nothing happened that I saw. I didn't see them at war with France. Somehow this happened, but don't ask me why. Always love to see formables like Siam. They're not doing super good, but they are here, which is worth mentioning. And then down to the south, we have Sunda here, who has conquered Borneo, as well as Malaya. I don't know what this is called. And then this big old island over here, Sumatra, I believe this one is. So yeah, Sunda having a very good game, conquering a lot of land of their culture group. Japan has made their way over into Manchuria, but yet to subjugate Korea. So more on that in a bit, hopefully. India continues to unify under Bahmanis with Iran unifying under Baluchistan, I guess. Though it doesn't look like the Mamluks are taking too kindly to that. We'll see how that goes in the long term. Meanwhile, the Ottomans not really doing a whole lot. Hungary getting completely dissected. The Pope man continues to conquest lands over in Italy, and Andalusia pushing into the Maghreb while getting pushed out of northern Iberia and Catalonia by the French. We have some land over here in Hanover going to a blue nation because Prussia formed by the Teutons and is massive. The Polish, Lithuanian, Prussian Commonwealth, I guess. And meanwhile, Russia is just a mess of Scandinavian, Prussian, and Kazani nations, I guess. So Russia's seen better days. And meanwhile, on the colonial front, we have Vinland over here. And you might think that this is Britain. This is actually East Frisia colonizing, with Andalusia over here, Portugal down here, and then in the south is British Columbia here by a British colony. Meanwhile, we've got France over here in Brazil, and a united Inca with Andalusia also down here in Argentina. So quite a bit of variety in the colonial game this time around, and I'm definitely here for that. What would you guys think about that? A run where we do everybody in the world gets exploit expansion day one, just unlocked without tech or anything like that. I think that might be interesting. I think I might do that. Leave a comment down below if you'd like to see that. Meanwhile, Korea's actually migrated up, taken a bit of land in Manchuria, and Japan continues to expand, only they're getting land over here in Mongolia, with Korchin holding them back at least a little bit. Wun, or whatever, North China over here, with Wu looking pretty good in the south, but Liang over here, who I believe starts like right in here, is looking pretty good. Pretty good. Siam, meanwhile, has gotten a lot of the land looking very good. But how about that beautiful purple Nusantara down here, a formable that was introduced in Leviathan, I believe. I love to see formables like this. I love it so much. Kote down here has a hop, skipped, and jumped, and now it has a ton of land up here in the Tibetan Plateau, as well as Bengal. So that's a thing. Kiowa's pushed up a bit into Somalia. They've also pushed a bit down into the south, into the Cape of Good Hope, which I assume they get through missions or something. But that's pretty cool. Luba united the Congo, and Songhai united Sub-Saharan Africa, though it looks like they are fighting off a couple of people, and they just lost to a little bit there. So yeah, you'll have that. The colonial game continues to speed up, with British Peru over here competing with Andalusian Peru, as well as France continuing in Brazil, as well as British up here. British Mexico contesting with Andalusian Mexico, as well as Andalusian Louisiana. And we have New Norway over here, as Norway has sadly taken over the colonies of East Frisia over here on the East Coast. Also, we got some Yarhar pirate boys over here in the Bahamas, which I always think is cool. And with about 200 years left in the game, we have the Mamluks actually out in front, just barely. 6 dev in front of Austria, and then Prussia not too far behind them. Norway in the 4th spot, if you can believe that. Balmanis in the 5th. The 6th is Great Britain with Andalusia, and then France, nobody under 1,000 development in the Great Powers. Of all the nations to perform like this, I didn't think it would be Norway. I don't know why they have so much land, but they are being incredibly aggressive, and it's working for them. They're giving a massive hug to Prussia, who has also grown quite a bit, and obviously the Mamluks are they're having a bit of a downfall at the moment. It's funny, when we finish it off here, we have Venezuela and La Plata way down to the south of actual Venezuela, which is like 4 provinces here, and then just right next to Brazil, which is a 1 province minor, next to Andalusian Peru. So the colonial game was a little bit weird this time around, but it doesn't stop there. We have the Venezuelan Caribbeans, British Mexico actually looking super good, 1 Venezuelan province here, British California, British Alaska, and then Andalusian Louisiana with Prussian Canada, New Prussia, and then an independent Norwegian version of Canada. But that's not all, because we have Canadian Scandinavia and Canadian Russia apparently as well. Of course, Prussia ended up having an incredible game next to revolutionary Germany. So we have that to look at. And then we also have the Revolutionary Republic of Revolutionary Normandy. And it didn't even stop there. We've got revolutionary Galicia down here. 4 provinces looking absolutely perfect borders. Not nearly so much. Big name placement for the Papal States, though looks like Germany was kind of eyeballing them at the end there. And the Mams ended up hanging in there, doing okay, getting pushed back by Prussia, but all things considered, I'd say they did just fine. And also doing just fine is Deccan, specifically Deccani, India. They also ended up taking a bunch of Spain's territories. This is all Deccani colonies, with their capital over here on the island of Java in Indonesia. So that's Deccan's name placement. I have nothing to do with this, but I love it. We still have Nusantara over here, though I'm fairly certain that this is a different color, aka a different nation with a cosmetic rename. And then over in this area, we have Siamese Malaya, as well as Khmer down here in Sumatra. Very funny. Siam looking incredibly good, splitting Wu in half. So we have the Wun Far East. And then up here, the borders are just pretty terrible, honestly. Japan took a bunch of provinces up here in Siberia. Wu took the rest. Korea hasn't conquered a whole lot except for Sakhalin for some reason. And yeah, so this is gross. Oh, right. And Venezuela decided to conquer a bunch of land over in Western Sub-Saharan Africa, as well as the Mamluks. So a bunch of random German provinces, and it's just a total mess. I don't know why they did this. Revolutionary Congo, by the way, right next to a giant Kilwa. Religiously, it's mostly Catholic over here in Europe, a couple of Protestant provinces in Canada, as well as Anglican over in Great Britain. Sunni over here, but the rest is all Catholic, as is Anatolia, Catholic. Sunni and Shia over here in the Middle East, and then the East is just mostly Buddhist and Confucian, which is pretty cool. I definitely like to see that. Obviously some Shinto provinces, but this is all like 3 dev, so it doesn't really count, to be honest, but big name placement. So New World is pretty messy, with Catholic in the south, Anglican, Inti, Sunni, Anglican, and then up here it's mostly Catholic in the islands, but Protestant in North America, with a big old Sunni patch here in the dirty south, with Anglican spending over here on the left coast. So definitely something cool to see, but it's very messy, very, very messy. Turns out German culture did incredibly well, expanding well past the German borders, with Austrian specifically, Swiss, Swabian, and then Rhenish pushing well past the Rhine and their normal borders here, with France losing quite a bit, but Walloon ended up competing out the Dutch over here in Holland, which is very funny. Egyptian culture ended up spreading a bit over here into North Africa. I think aside from that, maybe this Khaliji or whatever, into the Persian culture group. That's about it. I do love the cultures down under. You have Andalusian, Asturian, Frankian, and then we've also got some native cultures as well. It's just a bunch of different people colonized it, and then a bunch of people just took it over. It looks like it was actually a French colony that was stolen. I said Spanish before. It turns out it was actually French, which is even better. Likewise, we did have French Brazil. That was taken from them. And then the rest is, for the most part, Portuguese with a little bit of Andalusian and Platinian sprinkled in, and then a couple of Brazilian provinces that aren't part of Brazil. Up north, we have a lot of Mexican, specifically in like Texas in this area, which is accurate, and then Andalusian, but then Norwegian making up the majority of the development up here, and then Prussian and Frisian, of all things, taking up quite a bit over here. I very much like this. And I said Asturian, but it's Austrian. How in the heck did Austrian get over here? I don't actually know. Meanwhile, American culture is mostly just isolated to SoCal, you know, the Southwest, and northern Mexico, and then Latin America. So that's pretty good. This is one of the more fun videos that I've done in a while, and I hope that you guys appreciated it. If you did, also make sure that you leave a like on the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because as I've said a couple of times before, we're going to be doing a massive mega campaign all the way from Imperator Rome through Hearts of Iron 4 at 50,000 subs here on the channel, and I would really appreciate it if you stuck around. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I want to take a second to let you know that I really do appreciate you, and I hope that you have an absolutely wonderful day. Special thanks to Chio, Josh Kupczynski, Azure Rhino, Blonde Damon, Ian Powell, Cannon Fodder, Corbett Gaming, Anthony Grove, Isaiah, Saronska, Ricardo, Cobalt, Rex, Total Farce Frit, Nathan Albright, and many more. Thank you.